Hi there, colleagues. This is Mark Austin here. I'm going to be covering in this short video some of the content that I covered at the Council of Foundations Leadership Summit in early May 2008. The topic of the session was wired philanthropy, the focus really being around Web 2.0 tools and strategies and how foundations are using those to change the way that they work. I presented along with three other colleagues of mine. You can learn more about them as well as see the resources that they shared in addition to the PowerPoints, in fact, that they used at the session. You can find those via this Summit Toolkit area where you'll see a link to the Council of Foundations Web 2.0 session resources. So that's where you can connect to kind of everything and anything related to the session and the speakers who presented. Anyway, a little bit real quickly about myself so that you can place my comments in the right context in relation to my biases. I've been working in the nonprofit sector now for 25 years, wearing many hats as an educator, as an activist, community organizer, trainer, strategic consultant, and so on. And I am bringing a couple of important biases to my comments today that I think are, it's my responsibility to share those with you so you can use your filters to filter out some of the noise that may come with those biases. One of the biases that I'm coming from is that most of this stuff that we're doing online needs to be approached from a learning framework. In other words, the nature of this work online and the nature of the way that our stakeholders are evolving and changing, the nature of the nonprofit environment, and I think in general of society, is that it's an ever-changing kind of cesspool, so to speak. And I believe that a lot of this internet technology stuff, the Web 2.0 stuff, is about change. And so that's one key component. Another kind of core bias I come to this with is that I see most of this work from an organizational development framework as opposed to a technology framework. So that's another piece, is that I do think that this stuff has to be looked at within context of those things. Another bias is that I truly believe that most of this stuff needs to be stakeholder driven, audience driven, constituent driven. Whatever you want to call that. What does that mean? That means that it's the audience that drives things. We need to know who the audience is. We need to know what their needs are. We need to be aware of what their characteristics are and be able to plan what we're doing and execute what we're doing and shift what we're doing online in direct relation to those issues around the stakeholders and who they are. Another strong bias that I come to this work with is that I believe most of this needs to be capacity-based. What I mean by that is that there are a variety of different areas in working online that seem to keep cropping up related to capacity, whether it's time to get the work done, whether it's expertise that does or doesn't exist or is easily accessible for you. It could be money related, though the barriers financially have come down quite a bit to using some of these tools. But the most important capacity-based issue that I attend to and think about and witness having a very serious impact is the capacity to absorb change. Every organization has a different culture in relation to the way they are or aren't able to take risk and how they're able to adapt to changing environments and to changing ways of working. The capacity to absorb change, I think, is an important part of this also, and it's something that I'm looking at, and that's one of the filters I use. That's one of the filters in my lens as I look at this stuff. Okay, moving on from there, a couple of kind of, I don't know if procedural notes is the right way to talk about it, but a couple of things. One is that there's no way in this 10 or 15 minute video that I'm going to cover all of the topics that are relevant here. There's no way by reviewing what other comments were made by the other speakers that it would be enough. I think my responsibility, not just set a framework and share with you some of the effective practices, but to connect you to the resources that you need to go deeper when and if you need to. Via this online platform that you're on right now, the Summit Collaborative online platform, the section Council on Foundations Session 2 Resources, which exists in the toolkit, gives you links to all of the files, the PDF versions, the PowerPoint versions, the PowerPoint slides that were presented by all of the speakers. Now, I think that we all could fairly say, all four of us as speakers, as presenters, that we see ourselves as infomediaries. And what I mean by that is that we are out there in the field looking at these things and we're filtering them. We're aggregating, synthesizing, and thinking through a lot of it. And so I do believe that if you focus in on the resources that you'll both find via the SkyDrive that is linked in the resource page, or via all of the links and resources that are also directly on that page you have access from, you're really going to be looking at some of the best of the best. That's not to say you shouldn't get out there and be talking to other colleagues. That's not to say you shouldn't be even Googling on certain terms related to foundations or looking at other foundation websites. That, of course, is all critical to do. However, for the time being, I just want to emphasize to you that I do believe that Gavin and Amy and Laura and I are in a very privileged position, and it's our responsibility to share with you what we know, not just via these presentations, but of course via the other resources. So think of us as helping to turn the fire hydrant of information into more of maybe a garden hose level of information flow to you. All right, so let's dive in. What is Web 2.0? This is something that I think confounds a lot of us, especially when four of us sit down to get ready for a presentation like this, a session. We find ourselves asking, how are we going to frame for the audience what is Web 2.0? And you know, invariably we all have different points of view on what is Web 2.0. Regardless of who defines it for us, I think we bring our own context to defining it. So for me, my context is as such. I do not believe that Web 2.0 is a set of tools. I don't believe that Web 2.0 is a set of strategies. I actually see Web 2.0 as a state of mind, in a sense, a state of mind related to how to use web-based resources.